Hello, everyone, and welcome to our third webinar in 3C's AI for Small Business series. My name is Shanti Ramakrishna, and I am a Tech Policy Fellow here at 3C, and I'm so excited that you're able to join us today for what's going to be a highly informative webinar and will hopefully serve as a tech policy guide for your small business. So quickly, for those of you who are not very familiar with Connected Commerce Council, also known as 3C, we are a nonprofit advocacy organization that works with digitally empowered small businesses and startups to help give them a seat at the table to make their voices heard when it comes to public policy issues that could impact their business. So today, we will dive into the rapidly evolving world of artificial intelligence, more specifically, the current state of AI policy, how this can impact your small business, and how AI legislation may shape up this year and in the years to come. And we are very grateful to be joined by and learning from some industry experts. We have with us today Karen Kerrigan from the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Council, Jan Fowler Antonaros from Google, and Bailey DeVries from the Small Business Administration, all of whom are going to share their knowledge and insights during our panel discussion, which is soon to come. Throughout the event and during the panel, we encourage all of you in the audience to submit questions using the Q&A function, and we will do our best to address them during the audience Q&A session immediately after the panel discussion. But first, we're honored to have a special guest join us today to help kick off our event and to hear about their perspectives related to what's going on Capitol Hill and how AI is being discussed in policy and legislative circles. So without further ado, I'd like to pass it off to Rob Ellsworth, 3C's VP of Government Affairs, to introduce our keynote speaker today, Representative Nick LaLota.
Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce Congressman Nick LaLota. The congressman represents the 1st District of New York, which is on Long Island. He's a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy and has a JD MBA from Hofstra. The congressman served overseas on 3 tours of duty, earning the rank of lieutenant. He then came home and served his community on Long Island in a variety of public capacities. He now serves on the Armed Services, Homeland Security, and Small Business committees, and he is a member of the moderate Republican Main Street Partnership and the Problem Solvers Caucus. Congressman LaLota and his wife Kaylee have 3 daughters, and they live in Amityville, New York. I'd like to introduce Congressman Nick LaLota and thank him for participating today.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate the introduction. It's so great to be with everybody today. I'm taking a break from the Homeland Security Committee hearing, which is on TV and getting a lot of national attention, to be with you because I understand how important this is. Rob mentioned some of my committee assignments. I'm also a member of the Small Business Committee and the Armed Services Subcommittee overseeing our nation's cyber infrastructure. And it's a pleasure to be with all of you today. I appreciate you being here. And thank you for allowing me to speak on an issue that's becoming more and more prevalent in our society. Artificial intelligence, AI, is rapidly transforming, as we know, our entire world. It has already changed how we work, how we do business, how we learn, and even how we visit the doctor and more. Few places have seen as much transformation, benefit, and harm as our small businesses. AI is playing a pivotal role in transforming small businesses across the United States, offering a range of benefits that enhance efficiency, decision-making, and overall competitiveness. Small businesses, as you know, are increasingly turning to AI to automate routine tasks, freeing up valuable time for entrepreneurs to focus on strategic aspects of their businesses. Tasks such as bookkeeping, data entry, and customer support can be efficiently handled by AI-powered tools, boosting productivity and resource utilization. One of the significant contributions of AI to small businesses is its analytical prowess. AI-driven analytics process vast amounts of data to derive valuable insights into things like market trends and customer behavior and financial patterns. And this data-driven approach empowers small businesses like yours to make informed decisions, optimizing your operations and gaining a competitive edge. Essentially, I've learned that AI serves as a virtual business consultant, providing real-time recommendations and predictions to guide decision-making processes. In the realm of cybersecurity, I understand AI is a crucial ally for small businesses facing evolving threats. and AI-powered security systems can detect and respond to potential cyber threats in real time, providing robust defense against data breaches and other security risks. This is especially vital as cyber attacks become more frequent and sophisticated, safeguarding the sensitive information of small businesses. While AI offers numerous benefits to small businesses, there are potential risks that need careful consideration in our understanding. One significant concern is the automation of tasks, which may lead to workforce displacement. As small businesses rightfully adopt AI-driven technologies for efficiency, certain roles may become obsolete, impacting employment opportunities for some workers. Additionally, the cost of implementing and maintaining AI systems can pose financial challenges for small businesses, limiting their ability to compete with larger enterprises. Striking a balance is always important, and here we must do so between harnessing the advantages of AI and ensuring job retention is especially crucial. Small businesses must invest in training programs to upskill their workforce, ensuring a smooth transition to an AI-driven environment, while at the same time mitigating the potential negative impact on jobs and fostering sustainable growth. The multifaceted role of AI in supporting small businesses across the United States is undeniable, and thankfully we are on the cutting edge. From automating tasks to providing data-driven insights, enhancing customer engagement, and fortifying cybersecurity, AI is a catalyst, a much-needed catalyst for growth and stability in the small business sector. And as technology continues to advance, integrating AI into business strategies becomes not only a strategic advantage, but a necessity for small businesses striving to thrive in an increasingly competitive and digital landscape. But we must still remain cautious and ensure American workers are not displaced. It is an important yet delicate balance for which we must find a solution, and I'm confident that together we'll get it done. Thanks so much for your time today and the opportunity to speak before you. Look forward to our continuing building relationship.
Thank you so much, Congressman. That was wonderful. And I guess to segue directly into our research presentation, I'd like to invite Lily Gillespie, Senior Research Analyst at RXN Group, to speak on some of the impact of AI-driven tools on small businesses.
Yes, thank you, Shanti. What we've seen from our research, and like Congressman Lalota just mentioned, AI isn't something that will arrive. It's something that's already here and is already available to small businesses. There are summits, like I'm sure you've seen in the news, innovators are talking to policymakers are talking about regulations, and businesses are considering how to implement and get ahead with this new technology, all while maintaining safety and ethics and privacy for their customers. We've seen news articles discussing everything from the impact on society, education, business, law. And with law in particular, our research has found over 25 states are already looking to regulate and introduce AI legislation. And there's also been a huge jump this past year in proposed legislation out of Congress. Topics for legislation cover everything from defense to privacy to political ads and consumer and business safety. However, there's also no comprehensive federal AI law, and state action in absence of federal action could lead to a patchwork of laws that will impact how small businesses interact with their customers and other businesses. What we found from our own interviews is that SMB leaders like yourselves are very enthusiastic about AI. They're excited about the way that AI tools can help cut mundane tasks out of their workflow, increase their efficiency, brainstorm with things like ChatGPT, and create time savings when it comes to personnel, marketing, logistics. There's an AI for many of the tasks that small businesses already perform. For example, I talked to a business leader up in Maine who uses ChatGPT to schedule his employees and to track his inventory, which saves him a lot of time to focus on business growth and how to reach new customers. We hope the experts that we've brought together today will help you understand the AI policy landscape, and that this roundtable gives you the opportunity to ask them questions that have been on your mind. And just a plug for 3C, we have new research of small business leaders about their perceptions and top priorities when it comes to AI for small businesses that will be published in the next month or so. So stay tuned for that. Thanks.
Thank you, Lily. And yeah, now I'd like to welcome Sam to take it away for our panel discussion.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us today. My name is Sam Tassig. I am a principal at the ArcSend Group, focusing a lot on AI innovation and research. I am thrilled to welcome to the webcast today 3 people that really know what's going on with respect to AI policy and small businesses in Washington. We're joined here today by Karen Kerrigan, the president and CEO of the Small Business Entrepreneurship Council, Jan Fowler-Antonaris, a senior manager with Google's Federal Public Affairs practice, as well as Bailey DeVries, an associate administrator with the Small Business Administration, focusing on innovation and investment. I'm going to let these panelists introduce themselves and give you a quick overview about what they do and just generally what they're seeing about AI policy with respect to small business. Bailey, we heard from the congressman. Let's first hear from the SBA and your view of AI and your background in Washington.
Wonderful. So I have the privilege of leading SBA's Office of Investment and Innovation, as you mentioned. So what do we do? Our office is responsible for the oversight and management of the Small Business Investment Company program. So a 65-year-old public-private investment partnership program that was started at the prompting of a Federal Reserve Board study that found that there were capital access gaps for small businesses and startups, and that there may be a role for the government to play to help incentivize and crowd in more private capital, return-seeking capital, to support the creation, growth, and sustainability of small businesses. It's about a $40 billion program today, working with 300 private funds across sectors and stages, solely focused on investment in U.S. small businesses. In addition to that, our office manages and administers the Small Business Innovation Research and Tech Transfer Program. So this is the portfolio across 11 federal agencies where funding is set aside for R&D and prototyping and commercialization of those earliest of innovative ideas. About $4 billion in contracts and grants are provided from those agencies every year. And then also we have a lot of fun working with entrepreneurial support organizations in the innovation economy. So all of the amazing organizations and individuals that want to help support entrepreneurs that are operating in the innovation economy, to provide them with technical assistance, support, resources, and connections to capital. So it's a great portfolio. And as you can imagine, based on what I've shared, the theme and emergence and growth in AI capabilities, has been quite ever present, particularly in discussions with some of the more early stage investors that we work with, and then also within the SBRS TTR community and among our ecosystem support organizations. And I would say, I'm thrilled. I think everyone at the agency is thrilled that our incredible leader, SBA Administrator Isabel Guzman, is currently involved in the White House AI Council. So there she can serve as the voice of more than 33 million American small businesses and startups, which is important to have that voice present in discussions around AI policy. And it is our responsibility to ensure that that voice is represented here in Washington. We are operating in a rapidly evolving market, new laws, new regulations, oversight, new technologies. It's a lot to navigate. And so the voice of small business needs to be represented. Beyond that, I'd say we need to be thoughtful about both risks and opportunities. Like any sort of transformational disruption, you think about the Industrial Revolution, you think about the introduction of the internet. It is new technology, new opportunities, new gains, opportunities for wealth creation, equity, broader access. But there's a balance that needs to be struck because businesses are of different sizes. So I'll pause there for a second so you can get to everybody else, but looking forward to your questions.
That's great. We're going to get into some of those opportunities, and I'm so glad that you're looking out for small businesses' interests. That's just such a vast scope of work that you have to undertake. Karen, the Small Business Entrepreneurship Council, you're really small business's voice in Washington. You're talking to Congress, you're talking to the SBA, and I understand that you've done some pretty significant research in the past on how small businesses are starting to use AI and some of those opportunities. It'd be great if you could introduce yourself, your background, and what the Small Business Entrepreneurship Council is up to in Washington.
You bet. Thank you, Sam. Thank you for having me today and inviting me to be a part of this wonderful panel. So the Small Business and Entrepreneurship Council, SBE Council, we are an advocacy, research, and education organization dedicated to promoting entrepreneurship, protecting small business. And for more than 30 years now, we have worked on the range of policy issues, as well as private sector initiatives to strengthen the ecosystem for startup activity and small business growth. So over the 30 years, we've seen obviously a lot of disruption, when it comes to technology, and the power of technology and what that has meant for the growth of small businesses, for the growth of entrepreneurship, and opportunities in the marketplace. In fact, you could say we were sort of pre-internet. we came around when you were still faxing things and using couriers to go to Capitol Hill and stuff like that. So anyway, so it's been interesting. It's been a great ride, and we do on many policy issues: tax, regulatory, trade issues, technology issues, labor issues, healthcare. Access to capital issues. We do weigh in for business owners, small business owners, and our members. And AI is just one of those other transformational, disruptions, that has come along, and something that we're finding that small business owners like you are really, really excited about, right? I think when we've seen any type of wave of technological or tech disruption, there's first sort of that little bit of fear, and there's that anxiety and what this is going to mean for my business. We saw that with the internet. We saw people say, I will never, use my credit card on the internet to buy anything, right? So, but what we've seen with AI is just, fascinating in terms of this rapid adoption of AI by small businesses. I think their comfort, using technology, embracing technology, along with some of the needs that they have, the peer groups, that they're in, really has accelerated, the use of AI. In fact, a survey that we put out at the end of October found that 75% of small business owners are actually using AI. 48% of them said they started using AI during the last year. So, this is a pretty profound adoption rate by small business owners. 83% said that they will continue to invest in AI in 2024. And they're just the savings and the benefits across the board. You could see them in our survey, sbecouncil.org. But the biggest thing that they say is the biggest benefit to their firms is that they, as business owners and their employees, it frees them up time to focus on higher value work. So they're not replacing their employees, they're putting them to higher value work. They say their employees find this more meaningful work, de-stressing the workplace, making them more competitive, allowing them to put those resources into their employees, into innovative investments, paying down debt. Actually, one of the big things they cited is keeping prices stable, for customers, which is really, really important in this competitive economy. So 273.5 billion saved annually, we found, through the use of AI from small businesses. So that's my introduction. And we're doing a lot, working with policymakers and educating them, on AI, small business use, and trying to make our voice heard and making our voice heard, in these policy and regulatory on these issues.
And that's so important. When I think of AI, like I live inside of Google. I use Gmail and Google Docs and Google Pay all day, every day. And I see some of the AI tools that are being embedded in that. I see how Google's trying to help me write better emails and complete sentences, and obviously do some basic, accounting stuff in Sheets. So Jan, you're sitting inside of Google, you're in Washington, you're paying attention to what's going on in Washington, what's going on across the states. I think it'd be really great if you could give us a quick introduction of what you do and what Google's up to. But I'm also going to throw our first formal question at you and ask you to really describe how Washington is reacting to any of these battleground topics in AI. Karen's bringing DC so much great information. Bailey's working through a ton of programs and opportunities. But where are the issues? Where are the battlegrounds here? And what's Google working on?
Thank you so much, Sam. Jan Fowler-Antoneros from Google. I'm really happy to be a part of the conversation today. I am on Google's Government Affairs and Public Policy team, helping to lead outreach to the federal government on a variety of issues, including small business and economic policy. That's one of the things that I've actually been in DC for over 20 years. And I started my career at a small business trade association representing small business owners. And then I went to Capitol Hill and worked on Capitol Hill as a staffer, advising both a member of Congress on the House of Representatives side, and then moved over to the Senate to advise a senator. And I really believe that small businesses are the heartbeat of the American economy. Are such an important part of policymaking. And if the one thing that we leave you with today, I hope, is that small businesses using AI and your use cases and the things that you see, I think policymakers need to hear that as they wrestle with some of the AI policy topics that we are all together really thinking about here in Washington, D.C. from a lawmaking, rulemaking, policymaking perspective. And to answer your kind of question on what I've seen, I mean, I think if 2023 was the year of wow, that we all kind of were like, wow, this AI thing is taking the world by storm, it feels like 2024 might be the year of how, especially when it comes to policymaking. Google was really proud in 2018 to be one of the first companies to come up with AI principles to guide our own internal practices for how we think about developing AI products. Sam, you named a few that I rely on too. I'm thrilled that there's good spell check in Google Docs and in Gmail, and that is AI powered. We have AI in so many of the products that Google has, whether it's Google Search, YouTube, certainly Google Maps. They're all have AI empowered in those products. We also have really cool, innovative new products like Product Studio that if you haven't used it, you should check it out. It's a free tool that essentially replicates a professional photography studio, where if you wanted to sell any merchandise, you could take a picture with the magic of AI and make it look like you have rented studio time to be able to sell that online. And so Product Studio is an AI empowered tool that we think is really great for small businesses. But in coming back to kind of the policy question, Google was a part of the White House industry commitments last summer that kind of developed into the executive order on AI, which has many actions directing federal agencies to think about how their particular areas of law or regulations should be updated to incorporate AI. And then we heard from the congressman earlier, but just to reiterate kind of what he said, members of Congress are really thinking about these critical issues, whether it's AI in elections or AI generated images. How do we make sure that together we are minimizing the risk, but also enabling the opportunity from AI? I think that is probably the place where we're hopeful that Washington takes the small business voice and goes slow with some of the regulatory action items, but also is very thoughtful and putting AI clear guidance and principles in place that are very risk-based. I think that is really a key part of how Google is thinking about approaching AI regulatory conversations.
I think that's so important. I'm really interested in the Google Studio. Anything that can make me look a little bit more artistic, I'm going to check that out for sure. You know, I loved your comment on 2024 will be the year of how. So I'm going to flip that towards Bailey at the SBA. You know, how can some of these AI policies support the needs of small businesses and support their growth today? What are you thinking about that from the SBA side? And then I'm going to kick it over to Karen to talk a little bit more specifically in the day-to-day of small businesses.
It's an excellent question, and I might bifurcate and talk about Main Street small businesses, manufacturing small businesses, the established small businesses that really are the fabric of so much of America, and bifurcate that from the also very important, but often very different innovative startups that are, start as small businesses and oftentimes will grow to be large, but may remain small businesses that are operating in different sectors or industries. If I start with, the businesses in all of our communities across the country, the Main Street small businesses, the manufacturers, there's businesses that are critical to our supply chain and the services that we procure every day. The thing I would lift up is the idea that it has been a continuum that we've seen with the evolution of technology and compute power and software development. And what is very interesting, right, is that there are opportunities now for businesses that may not have been in a position to afford an expensive software developer to be able to leverage AI technology to automate distinct defined processes. And so what that does is it makes it more accessible for them to speed up certain processes, to automate, to improve their margins potentially, and be able to benefit from some of the gains of technology in those areas. So it really does unlock potential and make software more accessible for many businesses. I would say, back to Jan's point, underpinning all of this, though, must be an understanding of, what are the key principles, what are the ethics, and so that's why I lean into saying many of the opportunities, right, are focused on opportunities for those defined business processes where we see a really clear advantage right now for businesses and software development. But there are, beyond that, those are just broad opportunities. But I'd also share that there's a lot that the agency feels a responsibility for in terms of providing more resources and support for small businesses as they, contemplate opportunities to leverage the gains of trusted AI. And the Administrator Guzman, announced the other year the Small Business Digital Alliance, which is a public-private partnership. Google is part of that as well. And it is founded on the principle, right, that small business is big business businesses need small businesses need big businesses, and there are opportunities to be able to draft off of best practices, share tools and technology, and do so in a way that is not a cost burden on small businesses, but really one that is about mentorship and access and opportunity to resources. I know that there will be more to come there, but thrilled about that. And in the post roundtable follow-up, we can certainly make sure that we're providing some links to these resources. But in addition to that, and unique to the portfolio that I currently have the responsibility for managing, we have a network of what we call our Growth Accelerator Fund Competition Award recipients, which is a network of small business accelerators and incubators that provide technical assistance and support to businesses. And one of the areas of focus for us in our current competition, we should have more new partners soon, is trusted AI. And so bringing focus to that and knowing that we'll have partners in the ecosystem who are solely focused on helping businesses navigate resources, grapple with some of the challenges and opportunities, and get connected to both resources, but also sources of funding, we believe will be tremendously helpful.
And Bailey, how do those small business owners get connected and learn more about that program?
Yeah, so I will follow up and send links to that as well. But so we have all of this wonderful information on SBA.gov. I will say sometimes our government websites might not be the easiest to navigate, so I am going to provide some very directed links to those. But these are our partners that are working with us on our mission of providing technical assistance and access to capital for small businesses and startups. This is what they live and breathe and desire to do. It is our mission and focus, and it is we are part of the federal government. There's no cost associated with it. So I certainly would encourage any business owners that are in need or interested in resources to approach, our network of partners.
Yes, and the SBA works at a very local level, and that's always important to remember. It's not just in Washington. But zooming away from Pennsylvania Avenue a little bit and zooming in on every main street in America, Karen, you're on every main street. You're working with people, small business owners day to day. Can you talk a little bit about how these small business AI opportunities, some of the regulations may impact day-to-day operations of your everyday small business owner? And then going forward, we've talked a lot about this small business engagement. How can small business owners get more engaged in this policy debate, this policy discussion, rather, to make sure their views are represented and their needs are taken care of? Can you speak a little bit to what's going on day to day and how they can get involved?
Sure, absolutely. And one of the things too that I wanted to mention, Sam, is that we're talking about small business owners and entrepreneurs as consumers, right, of these terrific products, these terrific technology tools. But also we have to remember that it's mostly startups and entrepreneurs who are also the innovators, right? They're the ones that are sort of that are coming up with these great innovations that that eventually get to market, and so we've just got to ensure when we're thinking about policy and we're thinking about rules and regulations that we do have that there is certainty, that there is stability, so that these entrepreneurs and these startups can get the investment capital they need, right, to grow and compete and and scale in this space and bring their innovations to the market that will benefit consumers and small businesses. And that in doing so, the U.S. can maintain innovative leadership, in this regard. I mean, this is a critical competitiveness issue too, that we do have to have an environment that's friendly for investment, that's friendly for innovation. So a lot depends on sort of this thoughtfulness that goes into policy and stability and certainty. So I wanted to bring that piece up too, because I think that's so critical. I mean, every industry is dominated by small businesses, and AI is no different in terms of who's developing all these cool tools, that we're using. And in that regard, I think that in Washington, when we're thinking about, when we're working with regulators, when we're working on Capitol Hill, that's the type of information and the type of knowledge and data we tried to bring to this debate. So whether it was during the past year when Senator Schumer had a series of task force and things, us on a regular basis providing information, providing the small business voice, how small businesses will be affected by this, or if it's possibly what the regulatory agencies might do. I know Jan mentioned the White House Council on AI, and actually they met yesterday. They said they've met their deadlines, they've come up with their plans, and they're ready to go. Well, I mean, that's a lot of agencies, and that's a lot of departments, and that's a lot of commissions that will be possibly doing sort of regulatory work and proposing things that will impact small businesses, right? So in their use of AI, or as developers of AI. So from a day-to-day perspective, I mean, we're following all those rules, all those activities. And when a rule is proposed, we're weighing in, we're asking small businesses, to weigh in on that. For example, the Securities and Exchange Commission has proposed a rule that would, regulate the use of data analytics for investment advisors and broker dealers. And those happen to be, most of them, small businesses, right? So we want to make sure that the SEC and the other agencies are hearing from small businesses, or letting small businesses know, and that they're also complying with their statutory responsibilities, which is to do an analysis on whether these rules and regulations will impact small business. So there are, some processes in place that are meant to protect small businesses. And then once they open up the comment period and a rule gets proposed, we're asking small businesses to bring their story, right? Bring their story during that comment period, to talk to their member of Congress. So it's all about, again, is just building more knowledge, and and having them understand that regulations and rules and laws are not being created in a vacuum. They do have downstream impacts, sometimes unintended consequences for small businesses.
That's so important. And this is such a collaborative conversation. It really does require everybody weighing in to understand the different perspectives, the different opportunities, the different risks, and the different needs. So speaking of amplifying and understanding what small businesses want and need out of AI, I encourage all of y'all on the webinar to ask questions in the Q&A section. For our panelists today, we're going to get to that towards the end of this conversation. But first, I just want to continue to even zoom out a little bit more. And Jan, direct this question at you. Google, you have a lot of stakeholders. You're working with consumers, you're working with small businesses, you're working with governments, you're working with big businesses. Lots of people are using Google products. You're such a vital component of the modern digital economy. So from Google's perspective, what are the biggest challenges in ensuring equitable access to AI tools and resources for our small businesses and entrepreneurs?
So it's so true that, at Google, we are really committed to making sure that these AI tools are not just available for a small few, but are really widely available for businesses of all sizes and for people everywhere to be able to gain from the benefits that we think will come from AI. The excitement is palpable in terms of the productivity that AI potentially could bring to the US economy. And you've probably seen some of the statistics. They're kind of astounding, with organizations like McKinsey reporting that AI could contribute up to 25 trillion to the global economy, and Goldman Sachs estimating that it could boost productivity by 1.4%, which is as much as the electric motor. So kind of going back to the conversation on like these pivotal kind of moments in our economy and how they're changing, but there's no way we're going to meet that huge productivity goals if we're not successful in making sure that small businesses have access to AI and really know where to get these tools. And one of the things that I found interesting, and Karen kind of mentioned this, is that we, in some of our early research, have found that small business owners, where they're learning about AI tools is really from their peers. Mm-hmm. So that in itself shows that I think everyone on the call today, that we have work to do to help small businesses kind of navigate how to find these AI tools, how to understand them. And I would just share a few things that Google is trying to do to help kind of share out what we see as really critical of making sure people know how to use these. And one way that we're doing that is we have digital coaches that are all through the US. And they have been really critical in helping teach small businesses how to use these tools. We also have resources that are on the Small Business Digital Alliance's website, which was mentioned. And we think that's another place and an area where small businesses can get a digital jump start, if you will, to help understand what the tools are that are available to them. And we really think it's important from a policy perspective to make sure that AI rules or regulations are not creating barriers for small business AI adoption. and that it is not seen as, legally risky, or that the risk outweigh the benefits of using these AI tools. And so I think it's just really important for small businesses to dive in, find a place to start, talk to if you know of a small business that is using AI successfully to help manage, whether it's your inventory or your employees' schedules, or reaching new customers, and being able to use AI to spend your marketing dollars in the most impactful way. I think just hearing those anecdotes and diving in is really important. And Google and our digital coaches program, I think, is one important way that we can contribute to that effort.
Google digital coaches. That is definitely worth a Google after this webinar.
Exactly.
Hey, Jan, I'm just going to stay with you here real quick. One of the reasons I love working with small business owners is there's no such thing as a general profile of a small business owner. They come from so many vast and diverse backgrounds, and I'm seeing that in the live questions we're getting right now. Honestly, I think, Rob, maybe we should have 3C invite these small business owners to the next AI congressional hearing, because these are some of the most educated and on-point questions I've seen on AI. So Jan, just real quick, a couple of lightning responses. I'm seeing a lot of interest in Google's AI work right now. Some people are asking about what Google's doing internationally. You're a very global company. I assume you're involved in all of these conversations around the world, but I'm also seeing a couple of concerns about intellectual property and where the risks or potentially opportunities are in protecting IP there. And then just a real quick hit after that. I'm seeing a couple of folks ask about some privacy questions and what Google's doing to protect privacy. Now, I know you guys are working really hard on this, but if you could just quickly talk to your global involvement, what's going on with the IP issues and data privacy, I think that'd be super helpful for our listeners, and we'll continue on with their questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So Google is in 180 markets and around the world, and so we do take our responsibility as a U.S. headquartered proud tech company, making sure we're a part of those global conversations on AI. And just like the White House AI industry commitments, we are talking to governments around the world on AI. A few call outs would be the European Union just initiated the EU AI Act, the UN and OECD, so multilateral organizations that are thinking about AI governance from an international standpoint to ensure that the standards that we're setting to address some of the risk are not just in one country, but they are interoperable, and they are setting kind of a global standard for the risk that we see in the AI space. And so is something that is really important to Google. And then kind of diving into some of I'm going to try to answer really quickly all the questions on copyright and IP and privacy and data. It's incredibly important topics as we think about AI and Google, both in creating AI models. We just in December launched 3 new AI models that we're hoping that AI developers of all kinds are able to build interesting tools and businesses off of those models. And we think a lot about privacy and data and what the policy issues are surrounding that. And one thing, I think is that AI, as it is such an important tool for users and creators and businesses, and enabling these breakthroughs, that we have to have, kind of rules of the road as businesses of all sizes use information and data to inform our products, to inform the way that that we run our businesses. And AI is the same way. That it learns in some ways just like us. It absorbs data and information from the world to be able to create interesting tools and products. And we are really committed to working collaboratively with the ecosystem to ensure that creators and publishers have choice and control over their works, and that we are supporting new business models for the creative economy, but that there is balance in between being able to enable that creativity, but also realizing that, especially in the US, we have laws like fair use, where we're able to take information that is public to be able to inform our AI models. And so I'll leave on one note, especially on privacy. I think businesses of all sizes struggle with the US not having a federal privacy law, and there is currently a state kind of patchwork of laws throughout the country that makes it difficult for businesses of all sizes, especially if you have customers in multiple states. And I think that's an area that Google's very supportive of Congress looking at federal privacy legislation and thinking about ways to make the rules of the road a little clearer for businesses, so that we all can look towards the innovations and the positivity that these technology tools have, without worrying about if you're going to be stepping over a bright line that could cause a headache in the future.
Yep. Small businesses, make your voices heard. The commerce environment right now is global. It crosses state lines. And if you have privacy concerns, make sure to reach out to Karen at SBC and, talk to your local representatives and communicate your thoughts and needs. Look, these hard questions are just flooding in. Bailey, I'm not going to stick you from a representative of the U.S. government with a privacy question, but I know you have a banking background too. And so the concept of bias and fairness in AI, I know you've had some exposure to this, and I'm getting a lot of questions in the chat right now about how small business owners should think about bias in AI and what the government is doing broadly on this topic. Can you just give us a quick answer on is the SBA paying attention to bias in AI, and what proactive things are you doing at the federal level to help companies like Google and small developers and even small business avoid any of these bias AI pitfalls that we've heard about in artificial intelligence?
Yeah, so I think it's very encouraging. I'm thrilled that leadership at the White House and across federal agencies, have all come together, agreed, and private sector also just, want to complement the collaboration with private sector on the need for having appropriate models and frameworks in place to ensure that bias is not being built into any AI processes where it could have negative unintended consequences. And so, with that, what I'd share, right, is I'd also offer up a framework of saying, if AI capabilities are think of them as a horizontal, and you think of different technologies, industry solutions as different verticals, right? That we need to understand what are the use cases, what are the outcomes that we're driving for, and think about what is appropriate given certain use cases. So you could think about different use cases for AI in biotech versus in customer service delivery and retail, versus how it might be used potentially, like the example before around, robo-advisors. So, we have to understand what is the context and what is the use case and what are the potential unintended consequences. It's very important, right? Because it's not going to be one size fits all. Different industries have different standards, different expectations, and different consequences on the line potentially in terms of, in certain cases, human life, right? So we have to think about these broader questions and be specific around the needs of particular industries. And it's not unlike, you go back and say, this, again, to the point of this has been an evolution and a journey. You think about, the PC era, and then, the development of databases and enterprise apps, and then, the web and browsers, and then moving into search, and then social media, and then data and analytics, and now machine learning, and now large language models, right? Like this has been a progressive development of the technology stack and different applications within different industries and different solutions. And so we do have to think about things from the perspective of the industry, the technology, and the stakeholders that are involved in those specific use cases versus the, just the horizontal is what I'd offer up. So there's commonality, but there's definitely nuance to be considered there. So that's a little bit broad, but I'd say I think those are big considerations, and that we're fortunate that we have great leaders both on the legislative branch and the executive branch, and in large corporations across the country that are very aligned on the need to be addressing these considerations and making sure that we're doing it for stakeholders broadly.
That's so helpful. And for our viewers or listeners, I wouldn't usually say that reading an executive order is a particularly great read, but I have to say, Google, don't Bing, go Google the White House executive order on AI. It's very well written. It's very comprehensive, and I think it'll give you a really good overview of what the federal government's doing across all of the agencies, SBA included. These hard questions, they keep coming. We're getting a lot of privacy and data broker questions still. So Karen, I'm gonna ask you here. You represent a lot of small business owners and their concerns. What are the concerns with respect to data brokers and just general ethical data practices with respect to AI and small business applications? And after that, we're getting a lot of questions about where can small business owners get in touch with you and learn more? What kind of resources are SBEC providing to help small business owners navigate this very complicated world of AI and small business resources?
Well, probably depending on the individual that's asking that question, they have different concerns about the privacy issue, and the data issues. I know that largely the concern is around how certain data is used, and business owners, I guess business owners, like all consumers, pretty much want to say, right, in terms of how their data or their customers' data is being used, is it being transferred, et cetera. So, and that's why in our survey, when we ask business owners about what should be done on the AI issue, they do want, most of them say, look at whatever policies come out of Washington, they need, or the state or at the local level, they need to be policies that do balance, right, the risk, but also we need a good business environment. We want to have innovation. I mean, 85% say that. But there are things I say government, can do. The top 3 areas that they've identified where government can play a role is establishing ethical guidelines, promoting transparency and accountability, and addressing potential risks. So, that and it gets very, very complicated, obviously, for a business, whether you're small, medium, or large. When you do have the variety of regulations and laws across all sectors of government, state, local, and federal, that creates a lot of complexity, and so it creates a lot of cost for small businesses. And that's why we've supported for a very long time a federal privacy framework, right, having one set of rules so that in order to everyone will benefit and there'll be more certainty. And I think the same thing probably is going to happen, on the AI front. I don't think we'll get any big pieces of legislation now coming out of Washington. They're too focused on borders, budgets, tax bills, and other things. But I do see that hopefully there'll be space, and there'll be the appetite, and there'll actually be action on harmonizing and maybe preempting some of the state stuff, so that we do have a reasonable federal framework that creates certainty, affordability, and all that for all businesses. So now, what was the second part of the question, Sam? There's one other thing
Where can they come to you? How do they reach you for more? What are you doing?
Okay, so yes, visit us, sbecouncil.org. We have a weekly newsletter called the Small Business Insider, where you can sign up for free. And we keep business owners, up to date on all the legislative activity, where they can comment, where they can weigh in, whether they need to contact their member of Congress, whether they need to file comments with the regulatory agencies. I do think we're going to see an acceleration of action by the federal agencies on the AI front. Now that they've sort of done their first tasks, we see that already. Again, as I said, at the SEC, we see the EEOC, developing guidelines. There's been things done over at, the USTPO as well, in terms of enforcement actions and guidance. So I think we're going to see the federal agencies picking up steam, and it will be, I think it'll be there'll be some general ones, but it'll be very industry specific as well. But our plan is to put those out there so that businesses know what may impact them, but more importantly, or what could impact them. And then, how they can weigh in and make their voice heard.
Great. Google Small Business and Entrepreneurship Council for more. We're nearing the end of our program here, and I want to make sure we keep these small business owners on time with their very busy day. So real quick, lightning elevator round responses. Jan, I'm going to start with you. You get in an elevator with Joe Biden, the President of the United States, and he asks you, Jan, what can I do to help strike a balance between AI innovation and responsible use? What are you going to tell him in 30 seconds or less?
I would tell him, with hopefully small business owners in mind, that AI regulation should be risk-based. I think that we heard that from Bailey and from Karen, from both the SBA viewpoint and Karen in her role representing the voice of small business, that AI regulation can't just be one size fits all, that it really has to be risk-based based on the use case. So an AI application in healthcare is going to need a different regulatory approach than an AI application, maybe in a productivity, document, and that those federal regulators should be sector specific. It should be, whether that's the energy, financial services, healthcare, transportation, et cetera, that we should really have the industry-specific regulator at the lead for analyzing what is AI risk, and to keep in mind that we want AI to be available for everyone, and we shouldn't create big barriers that put up any type of stumbling block for small businesses to adopt AI.
That's great. Bailey, we get in an elevator with a small business owner. It's a really short elevator ride. If you only got 15 seconds, what do you tell them to watch from the SBA in 2024?
From an SBA perspective, I'd say I would continue to look for announcements around resources that we have for small business owners and entrepreneurs, both in terms of technical assistance, policy, as well as connections to support them with access to capital to help them grow their businesses in this area. Agree also with the comments around the risk-based approach. But the one other thing I would just lift up that I'd say all small businesses should be mindful of, and it's a broader policy consideration, that the gains that we're seeing potentially with the development of the AI technology wave, are limited and constrained by energy production, by data storage, by our ability to increase production of semiconductor chips. So the use and development of AI is highly dependent upon our data infrastructure and the power that we need for that data infrastructure in this country. And we should be thinking about how we ensure that small businesses are not locked out of that. They need to have access to that infrastructure to build these tools as well, and it can be quite costly.
That is super helpful. And unfortunately, we are basically out of time. But Karen, I just want to call out your survey real quick. I believe that's on your website, sbec.org. It's really great to always bring hard data to these discussions. So please visit that website. Check out the data and all the results that Karen's created for y'all. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm going to kick this back to Shanti to close us out. And thank you to our panelists for such a really invigorating, amazing, and deep discussion on AI policy.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you all so much. I learned so much. So thank you, Jan, Karen, Bailey, for all your time today. Thank you, attendees, for your amazing questions. For all of those that we didn't get to, hopefully you'll be able to find out more about them if you subscribe or opt into the 3C Policy newsletter discussing tech, public policy, and AI issues that could arise in the year to come. We'll be sending a recording to this event right after in a follow-up email. And yeah, thank you so much for your time today, and we look forward to seeing you at another webinar in the near future.